When I make art, it often reflects what's going on in my life or how I'm feeling, even if I didn't mean for it to. Every day I work towards being a full-time artist. Sometimes the steps are really small, sometimes the steps are really big, but the point is that I'm taking a step every single day. Currently, I'm working through an idea with a fantasy illustration series, and admittedly, they take me several days to complete, so I'm excited to take you through step by step how this illustrative process has been going. The first step in the process for me is always sketching, whether it's traditional or digital. I like to sketch traditionally and build off that if I'm going the traditional route, or pull that into whatever digital software I'm using. So today we're going to be sketching so that we can pull a screenshot of that, or a photo I should say, into a digital software, which is Procreate. After a couple hours of sketching and looking at different references online and seeing what my brain could come up with, we have our first loose sketch, which is so important. It lays the groundwork for the rest of this illustration. And right now the big question I have is, what am I going to do with the belly? It's one of those unique characteristics that can make a dragon unique, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that yet. But the next step is to take this sketch, take a photo of it, and put it into Procreate, clean it up because it needs a lot of cleanup work. Dragon anatomy is really difficult even when you draw them often. And like I said, clean it up and start coming up with those unique characteristics, clean up the line work, come up with the color palette, etc., etc. And I'm just excited that the groundwork got completed today, and I'm pumped for the next step. So a lot of what this video is about is still working towards being a full-time artist, or at least working on your art even while maintaining a full-time job. But today is a weekday that I am lucky enough to have off, which is always really nice. So we're going to capitalize on that. Today we're taking our sketch, which I have right here, and I worked a little bit off camera on it as well with the belly. We're going to take this sketch, we're going to take a photo of it and put it into Procreate. We're going to start digitizing it, get that groundwork, that line work going digitally so that we can start filling in. And then if we have time today, I do have a meeting at my local art center later this afternoon, which you should be a part of your art center if you're not already. But anyway, if we have time, I would really like to pick the color palette so we can come in and start laying in a lot of those colors the next time we're ready to work. So this illustration is a part of a series of other dragons, and the style is staying similar throughout the whole thing. I think the one thing across all the mediums of art that I work with is that those kind of grunge West Coast looks makes my art feel more human, especially when it's digital. And so going with those ink brushes that are digital and those rough shadings is something I really enjoy. And so we're continuing that in the digital sketch with a rough ink brush. After a couple hours, we have our digital sketch. Again, we pulled a photo of our traditional pencil sketch into Procreate. It just makes the process easier for me, but our digital sketch is in its first iteration right now, if the camera will focus on it. There's going to be things I add, things I remove, things I change, etc., etc. As I think about it, I always send it to a friend or two to make sure it looks right, especially when it's a piece that really depends on the anatomy. I'm not looking for perfection, but I don't want to mess, right? So I'll send it off to some friends. But right now, the next step that I like to do is pick out a color palette and see what we're going to work with. We're going to be working with blues, at least cooler colors for this one specifically. So let's go ahead and start working on that. When picking out a color palette or color combinations, I have this little book, a dictionary of color combinations, and I knew I wanted to use a deep blue for this illustration, and this page really resonated with me, and I kind of built the color palette off what is shown right here. And for every dragon illustration we're doing in this series, or I'm doing in this series, I've picked 3 colors and then complemented that with black and white. So I picked out, in this case, our 3 blues, and of course we'll be using black and white to complement those. But today felt very good. I have a lot of stuff to do today, but our milestone for today was getting that line work digitized and picking out colors, and we completed that. So it's a day well spent. Yesterday on a live stream, I went ahead and tweaked some of the line work and laid in the lightest blue that will be a part of the color palette. So if you were on that live stream yesterday, thank you so much for hanging out. I always enjoy your guys' company when we can have a lot of fun just drawing and hanging out. This evening, we will be doing the shadow work, laying in our darkest darks for the dragon in the head, and of course for establishing our light source as well. It's been a long day. It's a weekday. I had work today, but I am so excited to go ahead and jump into getting another step done, another milestone done in this illustration. Tonight's session took about 3 hours, shading in all the areas where I know there's going to be shadows towards the end. When it's coming to completion, there will be more shadows that I lay in that are much larger. But tonight was just kind of focusing on where the light source was coming from. And a lot of the time spent shading today can be attributed to the scales. There's just such a tedious process, not necessarily difficult, but there's just so many and they're so small, and I want to do it right, so it takes quite a while to get those scales looking the way I have them in my brain. The next step in the process that I typically take is starting to work in those medium tones, those other blues that you saw in the color palette. But today the step was taken. Those shadows are laid in now. I'm feeling really good. I know there's going to be some things I need to rework, but I'm feeling good and feeling confident for the next time I'm ready to take a step. Today is very largely dedicated to the darkest tones and the shadows. I'm reworking some of the black shadows, which is totally fine, because if I get those 100% right, the darkest blue in our color palette is very easy to lay in from there. I've already laid in some of the darkest blues, and I'm really enjoying how this color palette is starting to work and come together. Those of you that have been following me for a long time know that I kind of hyper fixate on a subject for a while. For like a year, all I drew was trees, and I started testing the grounds with like different creatures and stuff, and I feel confident in my human anatomy, but I've never really studied or had classroom time dedicated to studying a creature of any sort. So I think that's why I enjoy dragons, not only as a huge fantasy fan. I love the fantasy stories and the fantasy art, but I love the challenge that has come with dragon anatomy and kind of find out my own way stylistically of how I like to create them or illustrate them. A dragon is a creature that can just feel so self-expressive with all the details and features that you decide to include or not include. It's just been really fun. Like I said before, this is the 3rd dragon in a series of 5 dragons, and I haven't really revealed yet why a series of 5 dragons is happening and why I decided to take that on, but I'm excited to get more into that at a later point in this video. When I started drawing and recording today, it was about 3 p.m. It is now much later than that. We did have an intermission to make and eat dinner, of course, but I laid in all of the dark blue shadows, at least initially. I'm sure there will be some spots where I remove it or add it, but all the dark blue spots and shadows are all filled in, and it looks so good. I'm so excited about it. I reworked a lot of the black shadows as well, removing a lot, adding a lot, and it's all coming together very nicely. Today was definitely a successful day. Okay, you can't be too mad, but between this clip and the last clip, I worked on the illustration a little bit. It was just a day that, for my brain's sake, I needed to draw, but also for my brain's sake, I did not want to turn on a camera. It was more of the mundane stuff though. I figured out some details and I did the scales. You guys are probably tired of seeing me do scales by now, so we're gonna do the exciting parts, the mid-tone shadows, and after today, we're gonna be really on the roll to start finishing up this illustration. The blue palette really has come together and the details are working out the way my brain had them in the first place, which it doesn't always go that way, so when it does, it just feels very nice. It's just rolling out very smoothly. So let's go ahead and get started. Something I haven't really talked about yet is why these illustrations are coming to be, like what their purpose is, I guess. I've always had my hands in a lot of creative pots, a lot of different art mediums. I went to university for interactive media design and graphic design, and that just encompasses a lot of different genres of art and digital art and traditional art. This last January was very just self-reflective in where I want to go and what I want to focus on. I'm coming up on being a year removed from university, so January I just kind of sat down and evaluated where I wanted to go. The answer to that ended up being illustration and animation. Naturally, I started seeking out projects in those mediums of art, and I was lucky enough to get some opportunities to do some animation at the beginning of the year, and coming up with my own illustrative project that is large scale and serves a purpose was on the agenda. That's where the 9th TCG comes into play. My brother is currently going to school for 3D animation and has really taken a liking to the writing of stories, and he has this super built out fantasy story that he continues adding to and has asked me for concept art. Whenever you get a chance, I would love some concept art. So when coming up with an illustrative project, what cooler project to work on than a fantasy story kind of build out on my end, the illustrations at least, with my brother, who is just one of my best friends. The way this all starts is there will be 5 dragons initially, and each dragon will host a genre for a playing style, or an archetype, I guess you could call it. That'd be a much better word. Like I said, the title for this card game is the 9th TCG, based strictly off of my brother's story, and we don't know where this is going. This is just an exercise for me to illustrate a large volume of projects, and of course he gets concept art, but follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube to stay updated with how this moves. If it goes well enough, we would like to print and be able to sell these all to everyone that would enjoy a fantasy card game. But for the time being, we laid in a lot of our medium shadows, those kind of in-between shadows tonight, and I'm feeling very good. We got details to work out though. The bridge of the nose, down this kind of cheek corner over here, the eye, background details if I'm gonna add them, at least texture. Those are all things that kind of need worked out and fine-tuned, but I feel really good with the progress I've made today, and I can't wait to get started as I have time tomorrow, which it's rare that I can work on something in an evening, go to bed, and wake up the next morning and start working on it again. But that's the situation tomorrow, and I'm excited to get up early and start working on it. I think today is the day that we finish the illustration, the details, and unfortunately I don't live in a world where I have no other responsibilities besides drawing dragons while listening to the birds outside my window. I have some other things I need to do today, but I think today is the day where we finish it up. Out of the 3 dragons so far, this one has been my favorite to make, and visually I just really love how it's come together. I've gone live a couple times and shown it to friends and family, etc., and that seems to be the consensus from everybody, that it's their favorite so far, which is really exciting. That just means the practice and patience with myself is paying off. We are officially done with the 3rd dragon, and don't worry, I will show you the end result, but I want to print them first. For the last year or so, I was moving, so I've outsourced the printing for things like art fairs and stuff to a business that's not local but high quality, but now I have a local printer that I'm excited to test out, and feels like a great way to test the waters, is get some of these dragon prints going and see how they look and see the quality, because I'd much rather print locally. I do want to apologize though, because this last step wasn't much of a process that you saw, because I just got so into drawing the details I kind of forgot I was filming a video. But I always like to finish up a lot of my illustrations in Photoshop for texture purposes and kind of touch-ups. I'm super satisfied with how today went. What I had in my brain translated to paper very well, and now it's just to go test out the printing quality and how it comes out. Hello everybody. In my hands, I am holding the test prints. I first off just want to say thank you for watching this video all the way through, or at least up until this point. My journey on YouTube is just very young, and this was a very different style video, so I hope you liked it, and let me know if you did down below. Now for the grand reveal, and admittedly I have looked at them already, and I think they're missing some detail. Part of that is just the printing format. The other part of that is printing such a detailed piece so small, you're gonna lose some of that detail, but they still look good, and that's what testing your prints are for. So we'll go ahead. Here's the glossy version, if the camera will focus. It looks so good. I love how the belly turned out. Here we go. Come on, focus. You'll lose a little bit of blue on the camera. Here's the print version, and right here I will put the digital file, so how it looks more so in person. But they came really, really great. Also down below, tell me which dragon illustration is your favorite, and drop your Instagram username, because I'm gonna give one of these away. I'll give it till maybe, let's say, the end of June, and I will be putting your names in a random generator, a random number generator of sorts, and I will send a print of this to you. So make sure to include your Instagram, what your favorite dragon is. That way I can just contact you, and it gives you something else to post other than just your Instagram, and it's good feedback for me. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm getting better about posting there more frequently and in order better. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and of course I'll see you sooner than later.